but now we have the data. Science usually can only catch up once it does its studies, and we know that it's changing attention spans, and we know that advertisers are ruthless with the ability to advertise with the use of psychology to push people, as you just mentioned, to want these items. And quite often, when you are, quote unquote, in the have-nots, you would define yourself by the things that you wear outside of you versus defining yourself based on who you actually are. So I hope this little soapbox that I'm going on now makes sense to any parent on how intentional they must be. I highly recommend you don't give your children access to phones, even though all their friends will have it as soon as most of you do, and to be extremely intentional that as you decide to give out your phone, that you are super intentional on about what your children can see and pass that down. I know of some families who actually do no screen access, and these are the most brilliant children I've ever spoken to. I'll let Brother Ed jump in and give his answer. Again, I kind of went on the soapbox just to say a lot of things that I hope somewhat answers your question. And it's obviously we're up against the machine of, as one of my friends says, Brother Haziq Ali, he says, the machine of the USA. He doesn't call it the United States of America. He calls it the United States of Advertising. Go ahead, Brother Ed.
Brother, let me just take a moment to pause, man, to tell you how grateful I am, and all of us should be, that you bring us together to have these conversations. It's difficult to have these kind of conversations in normal life. Without your platform, brother, we would, a lot more of us would have more difficulty making it through our experience here in America. So thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother.
What we're doing here, man, every time I have these kind of conversations, please forgive me, man, but, books start to pop into my head. Books that I've read.
It. Don't. I'll keep adding to the bibliography, brother. Please keep adding.
And I'm telling you, when we're talking about this particular subject that the caller just kind of brought up, and he did eloquently explain, one book that I would recommend that everybody read is called Propaganda by Edward Bernays. That's spelled Bernays. Propaganda. He runs the game down. And you know what? The book was published about 100 years ago, and the game hasn't changed. So the thing is what I think the solution is, and this is a hard solution because we are already overburdened. There is something to be said for that old idiom that you got to work twice as hard. Some of us were raised to believe we got to work 3 times as hard to get the same amount as equally talented, equally industrious European American peers. And there's a lot to it. But one of the other things that I think we need to start discussing more is the obligation for the black parent to become a professor. The black parent of each household needs to be a professor. They need to be lifelong learners, and they need to put themselves in a position to guide their children through a very complex African-American experience in the United States. And the only way to do that well is to continuously educate yourself so that you can improve the advice and wisdom you pass on to your children. That's another burden that we have to take on. Because the American system that we're in was not designed for our prosperity so much as it was for the European Americans' prosperity, we must take special care and make special types of plans for educating our children inside our homes. Not in their schools, but inside our homes. And this is more than helping them with homework. This is teaching them about Frederick Douglass. To do that, you have to read it and learn about him yourself. This is teaching them about William Edward Burghardt Du Bois. To do that, you have to read and understand the man himself. This is teaching them about Toni Morrison, the greatest African-American writer who has ever lived and a graduate of Howard University. You have to know that stuff yourself to pass it on wisely to your children, and it's another burden that we have to take on in order to give our children the best chance to live decent lives here in the United States. So